how did de Blasio enact free pre-K?
There is, so it was really hard. And he was able to get the taxes to do it. He was able to get it for 3K. It had to phase in over a series of years. My kid went to 3K. I mean, everybody in New York City, I wasn't here under de Blasio. I just moved here 2 years ago. You all seem to hate him. He seems like he was a pretty good mayor to me. Like, 3K
just turned
happened.
off the podcast right now.
Yeah, so I would like somebody to explain all the de Blasio.
You just can't eat French fries. Like, there's certain things you got to be able to do. If you can't eat French fries, then, you know, you can't be mayor of New York City.
So anyway, I was not here and did not cover it, so I don't want to give you a good account of how he did 3K. There's a good New York Magazine piece about it from Bryce Covert, I think it is, from a couple months ago, but I don't want to try to do it by memory.
I just like to point out that it is doable. Like, mayors can.
Free daycare will be bigger and more expensive than 3K at a time when, like, the finances are going to be pretty tough. The other thing that I think it's totally obvious Mamdani will be dealing with if he wins the election is the Trump administration is going to look at New York City and be like Harvard. And they're going to try to break him.
They're going to try to.
They're going to take all the money
pressure
from him they can.
Yeah.
They're going to use New York City as a site for ICE confrontations, right? Like, it is going to be very, very, very tough. And New York City, I almost assure you, is going to be dealing with very reduced federal money coming in.
And with reduced federal money, you have no chance of doing these programs that are going to require.
So he's got that set of problems. Doesn't mean it's impossible, you know, and doesn't mean something couldn't be done. And something like free buses are not that expensive. You could do free buses, right? That's not that bad.
So that's sorry.
Sorry.
I was going to say, with Trump in 2016, too, he ran on all these things, and people were like, oh, how did you guys not know he lied? He ran on overturning Roe versus Wade. He got that done. If you get one of the big things done, your base will be, I think, satisfied and be like, oh, yeah, this guy got it done. If he gets free buses, if he can freeze the rent, I don't see him being viewed as a failure because he didn't do all the other things.
I think how he'll be viewed will have to do with a lot of things that we can't even predict right now, depending on what happens. But so freeze the rent, right? Here's the other one. Freezing the rent is, I think, just really tricky. I've spent a lot of time talking to affordable housing developers. And if you freeze the rent for a year, fine. Freeze it for 2 years, fine. If you do a long, extended rent freeze, you will make the construction of new affordable housing fall sharply. Like,
why is that?
Because it just, I mean, what you've basically done is you've taken, it's already not an incredibly great business to be in, right? It's a complicated business, there's regulation, right? Whatever. You are, I mean, what is freezing rent, right? You are just saying that over an extended period of time, you're going to cap the amount that the people who own these places can make. That's going to first come out in repairs, right? And then it's second going to come out in new construction. If you just make any market less attractive to be in, then fewer people are going to go into the market, right? That's just going to be like hydraulic. If you look at Mamdani's housing policy, and Mamdani, who's like read Abundance and talks about it on the trail, which I appreciate, has done interviews with my co-author, Derek Thompson. He talks about new construction. His plans are around public construction, which New York City has not done a lot of in a while. You would have to figure out ways to do that much more cheaply than we've been doing it.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not as familiar with affordable housing construction in New York as I am in some other places, but there's a great piece in the Washington Post recently about a DC affordable housing complex that was coming in at $1.2 million per unit. The same developer had built like another complex that was non-affordable, like next door or very nearby, and it was coming in at, I forget, $300,000, $400,000 per unit. We put in all these rules, and even if you listen to Mamdani, he'll say like, I believe we need a lot more housing, you know, so long as it accords with our environmental, our union, our affordability goals. And that's great. I want housing that does that. But what we need first is a lot of new housing. And the more things you layer onto it, the more expensive it becomes. And you don't have money, right?
Yeah. And you're capping what the money could be.
And that, I mean, that in a way too.
And I understand.
So my worry is about so my worry is that I feel okay with rent freezes so as long as you do things to make construction boom, right? So, if your rent freeze is like a temporary palliative thing while you're building huge amounts of new construction, great.
Not public only. Allow private as well.
You need both, right? The public. The amount of housing New York needs New York does not have how many construction workers does like the city
I want to put this in perspective. There's someone that works with us here, Alex, and her friends were in a apartment that the sewer line just broke and there was just shit all over the apartment. Whoa. So they need to move immediately. And the amount of anxiety that she was going through trying to get an apartment in New York City I mean, like, there was one that might have accepted their thing and they need to sign immediately on it. They need to get their guarantors. If they didn't do it in one day, there were 5 other applications that were going for it. This idea that, like, it's hard to get an apartment in New York is not hyperbolic. It is destitute. Like, it is hard to find a place to live, especially when you have a limited budget. So I get the idea that, you know, if you just let developers do whatever they want, they're going to develop $5 million apartments because that's where they're going to make the most money. Actually, I don't know the economics on affordable housing, but I imagine it's more when you're doing like 3,000-foot lofts. But if you find a way to get developers to put up affordable housing, not necessarily housing projects, but like units that people can't afford, and you reward them while also doing some public projects and freezing, then you might have a scenario. But you have to let the developers develop as well.
And
it seems like he's not.
I want to give Mamdani some credit here. If it's not so much in his plans, but if you listen to his interviews and things he said, he talks about some things that would be really good, like getting rid of 2 stairwell minimums. Like, weirdly, we have a bunch of rules on what you have to put into buildings that make them much more expensive. Like, a bunch of these buildings, in most countries, you can just build them with 1 stairwell. We make it 2. It adds more than you would think. Parking minimums, right? He's like an opponent of like parking minimums in places where we still have them. That's good. I think that he's going to be pretty good at saying we have just made it too hard. There's like too much red tape around construction. The place where I think he's going to struggle is where that comes into conflict with any other goal the left has. And the problem that liberals and leftists alike, Democrats of all kinds of stripes have when they govern, is that they don't choose between their priorities. They try to accomplish too much in every single project. And then the projects become extremely expensive. One of the things that has been the least persuasive about the Andrew Cuomo campaign, from this perspective, to me at least, is that he was governor when all this stuff was being built at like the most eye-popping cost imaginable. Like, I give him credit, he did get LaGuardia done. It's beautiful. He did. I mean, the Second Avenue subway did in that phase of it get done. The Second Avenue subway was the most expensive subway per kilometer in world history. Right? Like, it's not like this is just a problem of the leftists. You have to choose, and you have to, like, in some cases make people mad, but you have to make it affordable. One of the things I always want people to add when they're talking about this stuff, when you're talking about free, is like, it should be free and plentiful, right? Oftentimes people talk about making something rather free, healthcare, buses, whatever. The thing that will happen correctly, right, if you make this thing free that people need, is more people are going to use it. And so the question is, how do you also make it plentiful so you don't get rationing, you don't get wait lines, you don't get deterioration in service, you don't have like all kinds of bad things happen. And that tends to be a little trickier, right?
How do you do it?
The left tends to be very willing to say, we're going to tax rich people and move the money over here. Fine, that's great. Like, I am supportive of taxing rich people and moving the money over here. Not Andrew, you can't tax him.
Can I get, you know what I mean? Like, can I get some sort of way? I got guys on here telling to tax the rich. I should get some sort of tax cut for that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Don't you think? It's like more rich
solidarity
people,
tax
exactly. Like more rich people are going to get taxed because of me. Therefore, I don't have to pay the tax. I think that's nice.
Yeah, it's like when you get 15% off for like a referral fee.
I'm the referral.